Let's begin and enjoy.
But if you have like a rolled blanket, we're just going to put the hips and kind of be in frog pose, hips over the blanket, and then you can put the head on top of your hands, or you can just have one ear. Now, I want a little more height than this. And like if you had pillows, like I could take a pillow and add more height to this just to kind of release the back. It's just such a nice pose for the hips. So, and you know, you might have lots of good pillows at home to do this on. A bolster's good. Let me see what it feels like on my blocks. But the idea is that you lift the pelvis, you know, higher than your back. Oh, it's fine on the block actually. Now, if you didn't have any blocks and you wanted to do this pose, it would look very strange, but this is where you would tuck the toes and just keep the sit bones up and just put the forehead on your arms. So it would be more of a restful pose where you've got the sit bones up. But anyway, many ways to try to get into it. So the blocks, we just haven't done this in forever, and I was just feeling like, oh man, this could feel so good. Just releasing anything in the front of those hips, because from sitting in the car, from sitting at the computer, from, you know, whatever else. So if I had two blankets, I would lay across it. I would bend my knees so my feet are out like a frog. And then I'd put the head down either on my hands like baby back bends, or you can put one ear down on the hands for a few breaths. So this is one that you can play with, making the height a little higher if you want. I should have brought my bolster out here to demonstrate too, but so that's a few ways to do it. And when you're breathing, you can really breathe into the back body. See if you can feel the breath kind of moving into your thigh sockets, up into your back side of your body. And then, of course, your forehead softening so that you can come into a little bit of a releasing whatever was going on earlier today, or letting go of what you need to do after we finish class today, because both of you are on completely different time zones. But just giving your pelvis a nice stretch. This is such, the other nice thing about doing this is that if you get your props right, and you happen to have like a little imbalance in your hips, this might actually, or in your lower back, you know, back here, that this might actually help that a little bit. Maybe you've got more tightness on one side, and so this might really help stretch that out. I suppose you could even go into it, you know, take a blanket on your hip bones like this and hang forward like that. So that's another option to go into this pose. And it's really creating some more length in the lower back through the side waist a bit, trying to create a little more space in the back side of the body, and letting your breath just focus in the back side of the body, so that if I was close by, I could take my hands and put it really right here on your pelvis, and you could just breathe into my hands, or you can imagine my hands just coming on your, I could sort of turn them like I would put them on your lower back, and then just breathing into my hands and creating more space here. Because often, at least for a lot of women, we kind of shorten this area. There's a lot of tipping of the pelvis up like this, and then it shortens the muscles here. And certainly when I was pregnant, it really pulled that sort of sway forward. So one of my yoga teachers, one of my Iyengar yoga teachers, used to say to me that, when she saw people in triangle pose, the guys could kind of do it like it's supposed to be, and us women tended to have more of that sway back in our bodies. So perhaps some of these poses were designed with certain model of male bodies that most of us don't have. Anyway, just a little bit of, so any pose you can modify. There's always some way that you can modify a pose. Although I know some people can't sit on their knees and have knee problems, we just find other ways to do it. Either sit much higher, or you sit cross-legged for a while if you can't, say, sit in Vajrasana on your knees. Anyway, so you've been here for a while. If you had your head turned one way, turn it the other way, just to give yourself some more evenness on the head and the neck if you turned it one way. And then slowly release however you've done that pose. And this time, have your toes tucked under, bring your elbows together for a shoulder stretch, and bring the forehead down into the arms. Just to use the head as a weight that presses the armpits towards the floor. And then come to sitting, and we'll do a little bit of boat pose. We haven't done boat pose in a little while. And I'm going to get my belt in case we need it. But if you're sitting on your sit bones, we don't need the belt to start with, but if you happen to have one, it's good to have, but you don't have to have one. I'll show you the modifications too. So you've got your heels on the floor, your feet bent, and you're just going to cup your hands under the thighs close to the knees, and you're going to lean back here and really engage those abdominals, and then bring the shins up. So you're not dropping the back, you're getting that chest lift when you do this pose. And then by holding here, you can really engage those biceps, so you can get a little arm work as well. And then cross that right shin over the left. Again, if you have trouble, with the knees, you can put something on your knees. And then just walk the hands forward to just release those thigh sockets. Couple of breaths here. And then inhale, coming up. And for number 2, again, you place the heels down You just lean back, really engaging, especially it's those sides of the abdominals that run up the nipple line. And then you place your hands under those thighs. And this time, you can either stay here with the shins parallel, or if you can, see if you can straighten those legs and keep that chest lifted. And then again, bring that left shin in front of the right. And slowly walk those hands forward. A couple of breaths here. It's more about releasing those thigh sockets in case you created a little tension there. Now for the next one, you can use the belt, or you can still hold your thighs, or you can actually hold your calves more if you'd like to. So if you use the belt, you can put it around your feet and bring it up parallel to the floor. Again, if you're holding the legs, you can actually hold the calf muscles, if that helps, because then you can really work those arms when you straighten the legs. With the belt, again, you really work those arms, you lift that chest, try to really use those abdominals, walk the hands up the belt if you can, sitting as much on those sit bones as you can, and then bend the knees and place the right shin in front. You don't want to, like if you have trouble in this pose might not be such a good idea if you have trouble in your coccyx and your tailbone, especially if you've done something where you bruised it. If you've had a bit of a fall, that's not very fun, but it happens to some of us occasionally. So that's where this pose might not be such a good idea. And then for the last one, you can start with the belt if that helps, or you can hold under the legs. We're going to do a couple of variations if you're up to it. But again, you can always just stay in the first variation here, stretch the legs and then bend them back in. But if you want to go a little bit further, when you straighten the legs, straighten the arms. And then take the hands behind the head and come into halfway, and then come up to full again, and then come over to the right side, so a little bit of side there, and then come back to the center, come to the left side, come back to the center. That was a little bit long. And then bring the left shin in front of the right. And bring those hands forward. Couple of breaths there. And then slowly come up and come onto your hands and knees. And we'll just do a little bit of rotating the pelvis. So we've done one pose to lift up the pelvis, then we were sitting on the sit bones in that last one. So again, maybe we want to bring just a little bit more energy or fluidity into the pelvis, into the head tail here. Just bringing it around. Because there's synovial fluid in our joints, and so it's nice to do these kind of movements to get that fluid moving and to remind us that we are fluid, and then go in the opposite direction. You might get a little bit of pops in the spine if that's where you are today. And then bring the big toes together, knees wide, and you can walk the hands a little bit further to really get those sit bones lengthening towards the heels, and then that's going to stretch through those armpits. And then while we're here, take the hands and walk them to the left side and see if you can make sure that you're not really twisting, that you're lengthening both sides equally long. So you might have to lift the side that's closer to the thigh. And then walk those hands back to the center. And walk the hands to the other side. And try to lengthen both sides so they're equal length. And reach on that side. And then come back to the center. And then inhale, come up. And just really spread those hands, so you can spread the fingers, really press into the hands and tuck the toes under and come into a downward facing dog. And if you would like, you don't have to do it, but if you'd like to do the walking, bending the knees, you can. The other thing you can do if you like is you can bend the knees, press the armpits towards the floor, and then straighten the legs. And that probably gives you a little more stretch behind the legs. And then inhale, come into plank. And we'll just do bringing the right knee in just for a little more abdominal waking up. Bring that left leg long, then bring that other leg in. I think that was my right leg. And then bring that long, and then come back into downward facing. And then walk the toes or the feet and the hands towards each other. And you can either keep a bit of bend and hang here for a couple of breaths, or you can straighten the legs if your hamstrings are open enough. It's still nice, though, to really let go of the head. And then you can either walk the hands up with the legs bent, or you can hold the elbows and then come up to standing. So there's something nice about that movement. And then come into standing in Tadasana. And if you happen to have a block or two, you can use them, and otherwise don't worry about it. Or if you happen to have a cushion, you can put that between the knees. So I'm using 2 blocks because I happen to have them. So one is going between my heel bones, and one is coming, actually I want it in my knees. It's all about helping to engage those inner legs. And there's many ways to use the blocks between your legs. So the first thing we'll do is we'll interlock the fingers, stretch forward, and inhale them up. Feel that length. And then slowly, don't adjust the legs, just a little twist with the upper body. So you're engaging the abdominals when you do this. And then come back to the center. And then just a little twist to the other side. And then come back to the center. And then when you release the hands, see if you can let those arms really float down. And have a couple of breaths here. There's something really nice about the block between my heel bones. It just reminds me of how much pressure I might put on one side. You know, it's kind of subtle work, but don't worry about it if you have no blocks. You don't have to do this at all. And then again, change your crossover, whichever finger was on top, do the opposite. And inhale, bring them up. And then whichever side you went to first last time, go to the opposite side. Just a little tiny twist, because you're not trying to use the lower body, you're trying to stabilize the lower body, and just a little twist in the upper body. Might open the shoulders a little bit more. And then coming back to the center and twist slightly to the other side. Come back to the center and then release those arms and let them float down. So we're going to do a little bit of Utkatasana, powerful pose, or sometimes it's called chair pose. And it's really nice having these blocks. When we used to be in the gym, we used to sometimes do it against the wall or in front of the wall, where we could scrape our little fingers on the wall to help us with the sort of zigzagness of it. So we're going to inhale the arms overhead, and then we're going to bend those legs. And having the blocks really helps notice if you're pushing one side more to the other. I'm kind of exaggerating, but it really helps me work my legs really well. And then inhale up, exhale down. And this will get the heat going in the body if you need heat in the body. Inhale the arms up. And then exhale into Utkatasana, powerful pose. And then inhale, coming up. Exhale down. And for the next one, just bring the hands into prayer position. So this is going to feel slightly different. See how you go. Go into Utkatasana if you can. And it's really useful with the blocks because it helps you turn without moving the legs, and bring that left elbow to the right leg. You can either keep the head neutral or look up, and then come back through the center. And then we'll come back up before we do the other side. You can keep the hands in prayer position, a couple of breaths here. And then again, exhale, coming down into Utkatasana, powerful pose. Take the elbow to the other side. So in my case, it's the right elbow to the left leg. Really squeeze those abdominals here. You can keep the head neutral, or you can look up to the top. And then coming back through and come up, and then release the arms. So then you can, if you've been using a block, you can take them away. You can always have them close by if you want to use them in some standing poses. So we'll go from Utkatasana here into a couple more standing poses. So we'll inhale the arms up, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale into Utkatasana, powerful pose. Inhale, come up, bring the hands in front of the chest and jump wide. And then we'll go into triangle pose, Utthita Trikonasana. So take the left foot toe to heel. I'll do mirror image, right foot heel to toe. And then really reach, reach, reach. And you can take the hand to the shin, or if you happen to have your blocks here, you can have a hand on a block and really lift those abdominals to then turn and look to the top arm. And then inhale, slowly come up, bring the feet parallel, and then take the right foot toe to heel, left foot heel to toe, reaching, finding the thigh or the shin or the block, and top arm can come up. You can also use a chair for your arm, or like books on the floor, or you can just have the hand on the shin or the thigh. So wherever, if you need to do triangle up this high, do triangle up this high. Because the idea is you're trying to keep both sides of the body even. So you're not trying to go down like this. You're really trying to keep lengthening the underside of the body as you bring the top side down. And then inhale, slowly come up. Bring the feet parallel. You can inch them in, or you can jump back into Tadasana. And a couple of breaths there. So we're going to do the twist of this pose, and if you have blocks, you can have them near you. Otherwise, we just put the hand on the leg when we do the twist. So we'll start with arms overhead, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale into Utkatasana. Inhale, slowly come up. Exhale, arms down. Bringing the hands in front of you. You can jump wide. Now, keep the arms where they are. And then you're going to pivot around and bring that foot around too, the back foot around. So I'm mirror image, and I should actually be a little bit further away from my screen here. And what you're going to do when you're here is you're going to see how, if you've pulled this hip around enough, so this back leg hip, and then you're going to slowly, you can keep the back arm just down. See if you can bring that hand down to the leg. And that's where you can start. If you have a block, you can bring it here on the outside or on the inside if you need to. Of course, the arm can come up, the top arm, but that's only if you feel comfortable. And then coming out, you're going to pivot around with those arms again. Bring the feet parallel. And then we'll pivot all the way around to the other side, making sure that this back hip comes around. So in my case, it's my left hip. In your case, it might be your right hip. And then again, it's just pivoting those arms around. So you either find the block or you find the leg. And then the top arm can come up if you have that. If not, it can stay down. And then inhale, windmill those arms around, legs wide, arms out wide, and then you can step or jump back into Tadasana. And a couple of breaths there. So standing twists can be quite challenging like that, but they're also great on the core body. And they can really open up shoulders, they can open up your hips. There's a lot that can happen in those poses. So then inhale the arms up, Urdhva Hastasana, exhale into Utkatasana. Inhale up, exhale down, hands in front, jumping wide, and then it's left foot toe to heel, right foot heel to toe, and then we'll bend into Pajbottanasana. So you can stay here. Again, if you have the block, you can put your hand on the block, and then the top arm can come up, or it can just stay straight up, or it can stay down. So many variations with the arms. But really press those feet into the floor and really feel the power in the base of the body, so that your legs are really working here, so that when you come up, you can come up through Warrior Two. Just thought about that. And that shows me that your legs are really working. And then come around, feet parallel, and then we'll go to the other side. So pivot the back foot toe to heel, left foot heel to toe, and then bend deeply with the arm on the thigh, or find that block if you have it. And then the top arm can come up or not, and stay down, and stay straight up. It's all about your shoulder. And really press into those feet, find the power in those legs, so that you can just float the upper body up into Warrior Two pose. And then slowly come up, bring the feet to parallel, and stepping or jumping back into Tadasana. Whew. So we're going to come down to sitting and do a couple of twists. So I'll move a little closer, try to stay out of the sun. The afternoon sun in my house is always over here, unless it's cloudy, and today it's sunny. Now, we're going to do this pose. Of course, I'm forgetting what its name is. And if you have something to sit on, it really helps this pose. So if you have the block to sit on, you want to bring, one leg is in Virasana, and then the other leg, the foot sits like a little right in the instep. There's something really appealing like that. And with the block, you can put it on the outer sit bone. That's what's really nice about this. It's also helpful if you've got something for your back hand to do the twist. So with my legs to my right hip, I'm going to take my right arm to the knees, and then I like using this block for my hand to then twist and look over the shoulder. Now, of course, if you have a pillow, you can just use that underneath that. And I can put my fingertips on the floor if my hand doesn't totally reach it. But you're not trying to lean back. You're trying to stay very vertical here and then do this little twist. And if you can keep the shin towards the shoulder, you can look over the back shoulder. And then you can come back around, and you can swing your legs out into Dandasana in front of you, and then come to the other side. And again, I like using my block on this sit bone to give me, because otherwise if I'm just sitting on the floor, I'm just going to lean to one side. So we're trying to keep the hips as level as possible here. And then take the left hand to the right knee and take the right arm behind. And I can just put my fingertips, and it just depends on how long your arms and legs are. One of the things that blew me away when my youngest son was in school, when he was little, is he went around and measured people. He measured how tall you were versus your wingspan. And everybody's different. Some people are rectangular shaped, some people are box shaped. And it was fascinating because somebody like Michael Phelps apparently has the most amazing wingspan. So that's what probably makes him a good swimmer. And I think he might have a long torso too. But anyway, I just thought that was fascinating. So now I'll turn around towards you and come into sitting in Dandasana. And again, you can sit on something, especially if you have trouble sitting. And I'm just going to do it because it's comfortable, sitting on this little cushion. And I'm going to bend my right knee and bring it in. And then I'm going to hold my shin towards my abdominals here. And then the second phase, you can wrap that left arm around that leg. And you can just stay here. You can hold the elbows. There's something really nice about staying here for a while. You can also just stay here until the body adjusts, so the abdominals are trying to come around here. And then the last little bit, well, unless you want to do the wrap in the arms, it's called the bind, but I won't be doing the bind today. You can take the right hand behind you and then the left elbow on the outer leg. And then you've got something where they equally push with each other so that you can slowly look over the back shoulder. And then you can slowly unwrap, come back around and extend that leg long, coming through Dandasana and then the other side. So first you want to hold at the shin so that you can find that length in the spine. And then you want to take the right arm around the left leg to just start that wrap. And like I said, you can stay here. You can hold your elbows. You can just stay here for a while. And I'm actually getting this excellent stretch in my shoulder blade over here. So I can just stay here and, work with that stretch for a while. And then the next level is taking the left arm behind and the right elbow on the outer thigh. You want to make sure that the extended leg does not go wonky and just fall down. You want to still keep the toes up, working that leg. And then you can squeeze and look over the shoulder. And then slowly come around. And then whatever you want to do for Shavasana, whether it be feet up the wall, legs in a chair, regular Shavasana, something under your knees, or if you like that very first pose we did, it's kind of reverse Shavasana if you elevate your pelvis like that. So you could do prone Shavasana if you feel like it. So there's many ways to do Shavasana. Do it how it suits you today. And then I'm gonna turn my blind so I don't look striped. And then whatever pose you're in, just notice what part of your body might be touching
the floor or being supported by something, whether it's a cushion or a block or anything that might be supporting it, or maybe it's the texture of your mat. And see if you can feel the support from the floor, the ground, the earth, whatever's underneath you. Or maybe what's useful is to imagine you're somewhere in one of your favorite places. Maybe you're lying on the beach. Maybe you're just lying in a meadow somewhere where the ground is very soft and has a fresh smell and enough warmth in the sun so you're not cold. Or maybe you've been hot, so maybe you want to cool down. And see if you can feel the spaciousness between your toes and the bones in your feet, the spaciousness in the heel and the ankle bones. Perhaps you can feel the spaciousness with the bones in the lower leg and the cartilage in the knee. See if you can feel the spaciousness there. And that femur bone, see if you can feel spaciousness where it inserts into your knee and where it inserts into your hips, into your pelvis. And then see if you can feel spaciousness in your whole pelvic girdle. We sometimes think that bones are quite hard, but really they're quite soft, curvy, and they've got some mobility to them. See if you can feel some spaciousness in your tailbone, your sacrum, in the vertebrae, in the middle of your back, with your rib cage. And then up to your shoulder girdle. Can you feel some spaciousness with the scapula, the shoulder blades, and the collarbone? And then see if you can feel some spaciousness with the big bone up in your upper arm between your shoulder and your elbow. And then the two bones from your elbow to your wrist. And then can you feel spaciousness in your wrists and in your hands and all your finger bones? And then see if you can feel some spaciousness in your upper spine and those vertebrae in your neck up into your head. And then all those bones in your head that support and cover your brain and the cartilage in your face and your nose and your ears. See if you can feel spaciousness there. And then slowly begin to deepen your breath, bringing a little bit of movement into your fingers, your toes, your hands, your feet. You can do a nice big stretch if you need to do that. And then you can slowly roll to your right side. Take a couple of breaths there so that you ease yourself up to sitting and you don't push yourself or rush yourself. You just want to take your time to move through those bones without missing one of those vertebrae to come up to sitting. And then thank you for being here, and namaste.